Good evening. This is Maestro Cretella with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a 2v2 on Valderus Refinery. Our first player today is SuperHooper, playing as the Techmarine. The Techmarine is a ranged hero to start out. He can get an axe later on, but he's got guns for every occasion. He can repair vehicles. Probably the best hero in the game with vehicles, aside from maybe Imperial Guard heroes with bunkers and stuff. But he's just very good, very powerful. He also gets to build relay beacons and turrets, which are also very powerful. Next up, we've got XPhial playing as the Apothecary. This is, I believe, Legion of the Damned. The Apothecary is a healing commander. He can do a targeted heal on any infantry squad. Very good. It synergizes well with the squads that already are pretty tanky or medium tankiness, like Tactical Marines, Assault Marines, etc. And on the other team, first of all, we've got Fusterbuck. This is actually DJ Raffa. He is playing as the Grey Knight Bro Captain, and he's actually Grey. The Grey Knight Bro Captain is a tanky melee hero, walks around in Terminator armor, starts out with a big force sword, good for tying things up. He can also not be knocked down or suppressed, but not really that great at countering melee early on, unlike most other tanky melee heroes. And then finally, we've got Maestro Cretella playing as the Eldar Warlock. The Warlock is an Eldar melee hero, not necessarily tanky unless you invest in specific war gears, and you can also go for less tanky and more spellcasting builds with him. So we've got the Apothecary right here. Uses his heal, and that actually kind of scares off my Howling Banshees right there. Howling Banshees, pretty good for taking on single entities that are not tanky melee heroes, can often kill them pretty quickly, especially if they can get a lucky knockback. Although right there, the Apothecary did use a heal. I don't think he got knocked down, and there's a lot of support from those Tactical Marines as well as the Scouts. We've got the Bro Captain running around here, distracting a lot of things, but I think at this point he's probably going to get focused down quite a bit. We have a very quick customized Stormbolter upgrade on the Apothecary. This is a replacement for his mastercrafted bolter that he used to have, and it looks really, really cool. So I like that change in Elite Mod. Purely a cosmetic upgrade, but it looks awesome, and it just differentiates the Apothecary a bit more from the Techmarine. So now XPhial is actually on the left side, capturing basically just helping out SuperHooper. So they're kind of doubling in Raffa's lane. Already we've also got a sniper upgrade, so we're seeing some very early upgrades on a lot of these squads or units. Meanwhile, I've got a ranger, and I've got a second ranger building, so I'm going for a double ranger build. And I'm doing that in part because I'm up against the Apothecary. I want to... My intention with the ranger is that I'll very quickly do some burst damage with the ranger shots, and that'll get the Apothecary to spend the heal very early. Because instantly 2 ranger shots on attack squad, if it doesn't kill a model, it'll get the Apothecary to use his heal on that model just very quickly, as opposed to if you just slowly wear down Tactical Marines, then that heal comes, and then you just kind of like wasted a lot of time. This is a way to very efficiently get the Apothecary to spend his heal. Although at the same time, the Apothecary is probably one of the better heroes for resisting rangers, or snipers in general, because he can heal, whereas most other heroes would be in a much worse position. Right now my rangers have gone unopposed, but they're doing their work rather slowly. I did manage to get a Tactical Marine model, but we've got 3 squads of tax between SuperHooper and XPhial. It's a lot of tax, and I feel that Space Marines can be pretty strong in teams sometimes just on the power of tax. Tax, they're just very tough, and when you get a lot of them, it can actually just be pretty tough to break a big wall of tax, because they do a pretty good amount of damage while not dying very easily. So they will usually kind of out-attrition squads for most other races, because those other squads will lose models much more quickly. Anyway, I'm actually managing to get a lot of models off of these tax, because I've now got double rangers, and they're running around infiltrated. And they're actually working out pretty well against the tax, but now I've got some ASM to worry about, and ASM are a very good answer to Rangers. And in fact, that's actually something, another way that the Apothecary and Space Marines in general can be pretty good actually at resisting Rangers. Right there, I actually did not lose a model on that front Ranger squad, although that second one down to only one model. Row Captain running around. He's doing, I don't know how well he's doing. Wow, Raffa went really light on Tier 1. I don't know, did he, I'm not even sure if he lost the squad, but he's got Stormtroopers and Strike Squad. He did tell me that he was actually going to rush to Tier 2, which I remember him saying that, but I didn't realize that meant he was going to get 2 squads. He told me to go heavier, and I guess for me, heavier was double Rangers. Now, I do have some reservations about getting double Rangers. Guardian weapons teams tend to scale a little bit better. They have more utility overall because you can now upgrade them to a Bright Lance. The Rangers are also a bit more expensive. Meanwhile, Raffa losing quite a few models, lost 2 Strike Squad members, and that's not cheap to reinforce. Meanwhile, here come our attacks back out into the field. We do really have a lot of range damage coming out of pretty much the entire blue team. Techmarine by default has a bolter, does about 35 DPS, so he's very powerful in range. And then, of course, most of the Space Marine squads do range. The Apothecary is upgraded to have the customized Storm Bolter, so he's going to do a lot of range damage. I'm starting to go with the Jedi build for the Warlock, and that'll allow him to be a lot tankier. He'll be able to run in, tie things up. He'll probably take a lot of damage on approach, but otherwise, I think with any other build, I wouldn't really be able to use him much in melee with the kind of ranged damage that we have coming out of the Space Marines at this point. Now I see these Assault Marines stepping forward, so I fleet of foot before they can actually do knockback, and now they're infiltrated, so we actually can't see them. Ranger's going to retaliate against those Assault Marines. Don't bleed a model, but just a little bit of micro there. I anticipated the Assault Marine jump and used fleet of foot to get the Rangers out of there before they actually got hit. We've got 2 new units for Fustercluck, or DJ Raffa. He's got a Vindicator Assassin. He's also got some Purifiers, so he's got a sniper of his own. Could be, well, the snipers have already been working out pretty well for me, so now he's got a sniper as well. Vindicator Assassin, the latest unit for Grey Knights. You can switch between turbo penetrator rounds, and I actually forget what the anti-infantry round is called, but basically he gets some anti-vehicle rounds with his sniper rifle. He's also got some, he can also switch to a more anti-infantry based round, but you got to be very careful with him. Only 450 hit points for a single entity, which is the lowest for any single entity in the game. Anyway, Assault Marines jumping into the Bro Captain right here. We've also got some Purifiers, a pretty solid melee unit, but there I think they had a little bit of a disadvantage being jumped on by the Assault Marines, and then we have 2 squads of tax for support. Meanwhile, we've got some Stormtroopers, have the Plasma Gun, so they'll be doing some bonus damage against, well, pretty much everything coming out of the Space Marines except for, like, the Scouts. We've got the Warlock chasing around again, and, I mean, with that Warlock, he's now got the Merciless Witchblade, so he does quite a bit of damage. There's that special attack. Actually, mostly seemed to miss. Well, it missed 2. I think missed one of the models. But that heal actually negated a lot of the damage that the Warlock did. Another special attack, a very beautiful special attack, if I may say. And now I'm actually just reactivating the energy shield as it regains some health. So this is the melee build for the Warlock can be very, very powerful. He's actually very, very strong in melee if you go for that dedicated melee build. Even though he doesn't quite have the same damage potential of other heroes, I think he almost ironically makes up for it in staying power, even compared to other tanky melee heroes, particularly when you get the Heart of Darkness. He just becomes very, very tanky. Rangers take their shots, instantly bleeding scout models. Now, of course, the Apothecary can't negate that at all. Assault Marines actually burn their jump on the Dire Avengers and the Banshees, and that actually does scare them off. The Dire Avengers, or the Howling Banshees, took way too much damage from, I think, from the support fire of the Stern Guard veterans. And what is Raffa doing right here? He's going to lose his Strike Squad. I can't imagine him doing that intentionally. And here are his Purifiers, a little bit low on health. I think they're going to need, they're going to need to run out of there. They're going to lose hit points, especially from that Techmarine. We've been seeing a lot of the ability from Purifiers does plasma damage in an area and increases its damage over time. Raffa getting hit a little hard, and suddenly I do have a very big army. Here are some Dark Reapers, and here is I back-tech to a Guardian Weapon team, and I did that mostly for insurance purposes. We haven't seen a vehicle yet, but I feel like we could reasonably expect a vehicle at some time, and my build before that really was not ready to deal with vehicles at all. And I can of course just keep the Guardian Weapon team as a Shuriken Cannon, even if my opponents do not get a vehicle. Although that being said, we do have a Dreadnought here out from XPhial, so now I'm kind of prepared. Raffa actually going for a pretty light build overall, but he has fully invested in his brother captain. He's got the Teleporter pack, the Nemesis Force Halberd, and he's quite a bit more powerful when he has that Nemesis Force Halberd because it does 83.33 DPS power melee and even does a little bit of splash. Now we're really low on VPs. We have not been winning on the VPs at all. However, so that's why I kind of have my Warlock going in just for the cap, and I figure if there's anyone who can just cap, it's him, because he won't bleed even after taking a lot of damage. Howling Banshee's now in a ton of trouble, I think. Ooh, but they were in trouble, but my Exarch upgrade saved them kind of at the last moment. Rangers get hit pretty hard by that assault cannon, and they're actually taking a lot of damage on retreat, and the combination of, I think, Stern Guard Veteran Hellfire rounds, as well as more damage from that Dreadnought, just ended up taking out one of my Ranger squads. In fact, I've really lost a lot of models in that engagement, but I already have the Bright Lance upgraded to start threatening that Dreadnought, already going to be slightly less threatening than it was at first. And it looks like Raffa also lost his Vindicare Assassin. So meanwhile, a relay beacon is now going down for, this is SuperHooper. The relay beacon just offers really fantastic team game support. You can just retreat right to it, reinforce, and it has a bit of a healing aura in the elite mod. So it's very, very good. Especially in 3v3s, it's one of the things that I believe makes him the best 3v3 hero in the game. I think he can still be very powerful in 2v2, and he's still very powerful overall in 2v2. Anyway, Raffa actually going all the way to tier 3 now. And Assault Marines jump in, actually just scare off that Inquisitorial Stormtrooper. The Vindicare Assassin here has some kind of orange buff aura or circle. I don't know what that's all about, but man, he really needs to be careful. Is that... Oh, wait, that wasn't... He didn't lose his Vindicare Assassin. He lost something else. He came really, really close to losing that Vindicare Assassin, and in fact, he did lose that Vindicare Assassin. He lost the Strike Squad, though. So Raffa actually losing quite a bit of stuff. The Warlock getting knocked over, trying to go for the point where I'm feeling the VP pressure. We're feeling the VP pressure. So I just tried to put him on the point, get the decap, but things are not looking so pretty right now, except for the fact that Raffa's almost at the point that he could start getting some Terminators out on the field. These Dire Avengers are suddenly having a lot of trouble, but actually get a really nice grenade on the Stern Guard Veterans, but they still got to get out of there, and actually just pretty much just end up getting forced off entirely. We're feeling the VP pressure. The blue team has had a significant VP lead. We have a... Oh my god, and that grenade right there wiping out the Bright Lance, and that was a really big deal, because that was my only answer, really, to the Dreadnought. That was the only AV I had. I got it pretty late, and again, it was the only unit in my composition that could actually deal with vehicles. And now there's still this big-ass Dreadnought on the field. It's been doing work, and now we basically have nothing to counter. And at this point, I'm actually feeling kind of demoralized, and I didn't even know... If I knew how many squads Raffa didn't have, I probably would have been even more demoralized than I already was. And I'm feeling demoralized because I lost 2 squads. One of them was my only AV unit, and there's a big vehicle to deal with on the field. And I lost my Warlock, and he's not really in a great position to get revived. Anyway, we've got both Space Marine players going to tier 3. Raffa actually has his Paladins on the way. And the Bro Captain here, not doing bad. Meanwhile, my Warlock is a whole level 1. Techmarine level 3, fully upgraded. He's got that plasma gun. Certainly great choice against any kind of power armor. Extremely powerful. And he's got the the Signum armor. We've seen him use marked target so far. This is unfortunately really poor positioning, and I managed to get 4 of my squads jumped by the Assault Marines. Not even really microing that well, but a grenade's going to go in on top of the Stern Guard veterans. Stern Guard veterans were also suppressed by the Dark Reaper's ability, and now I'm actually going to lose the Howling Banshees outright. So now I'm feeling even more demoralized. And that was really extremely poor play on my part. Really just derped, blobbed up too much, got everything disrupted at once, and now they're pretty much just totally occupying this relay beacon and this area. We're actually staying in the game by capturing the natural VPs, both ours and theirs, because there's not a whole lot we can do to get the middle for now, except for me occasionally trying to have my Warlock stand on it and lose a lot of health. Paladins are out on the field, and, well, I was going to say that retreat might have been a little premature, but then they just retreat straight here. Straight here, yeah. But we've got a lot of anti-super heavy infantry for the Space Marines. We've got some Stern Guard veterans right here. They have loaded Kraken bolts in so that they can do more damage to super heavy infantry. We do have those double plasma attacks out of SuperHooper, as well as a plasma gun Techmarine. That's an amazing amount of firepower against super heavy infantry. I actually go for an Eldritch Storm on the Dreadnought, hoping my opponents would be distracted, but I did not actually have any kind of actual anti-vehicle to follow that up with, so that ends up being a little bit of a waste. Was hoping that the Dark Reapers might be able to do a little bit of light AV with their Inferno damage, but it's still just not going to be good enough, considering the Dreadnought is getting repaired, and all of my squads just going to end up getting forced off the field again. But we're actually starting to get the VPs to tick back in our favor, even though we're not winning any engagements, because Raffa is constantly capturing their natural. We have just had our natural. And apparently, well, these Paladins now in quite a bit of trouble. I don't know if they're going to get out of there. Being chased down by ASMs, as well as the Stern Guards. Stern Guards now loading Kraken bolts in so that they can do more damage. And here is an orbital bombardment. Oh my. Is this Raffa's orbital bombardment? I don't think it is Raffa's. It's not. This is XPhial's orbital bombardment. That's going to put the Paladins in a lot of trouble. Paladins may just get wiped here, if not from the orbital itself, and possibly from the follow-up damage, just from any squads that are chasing them. They are tough. I would imagine the teleport might be ready at some point, but the Paladins are actually going to chase down the Stern Guard veterans, and we have some support from the Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, so it looks like this lone Paladin is actually going to make it out of there alive, and he even teleports. Meanwhile, back here, I'm coming back out onto the field. I now have a Fire Prism. Wow, a lot of Stern Guard veteran models dying from those Purifiers. They kind of ran ahead and then got flanked by the Purifiers. And here we have a Land Raider Crusader coming out of Raffa, so he's just kind of gone for tier 3 stuff. So I lost my Banshees. Instead, I decided to get a D-Cannon. Unfortunately, this is not such great positioning for my D-Cannon. Now getting hit by the Assault Cannon barrage. My goal with that D-Cannon, why I set it up so forward, was that I wanted to use a Singularity on basically where the relay beacon is. And then I tried to load it into the Land Raider Crusader because I didn't want it to retreat, and I lost it entirely. So a very quick loss of that D-Cannon. Raffa getting forced off, and he's pushing his Land Raider Crusader all the way forward. All the way forward. He's going for the teleporter relay beacon. He's not actually doing that much damage with the Assault Cannon and the Hurricane Bolters. Ideally, yeah, needs the Multi-Melta on top if he wants to be able to efficiently take out that teleporter relay beacon with the Land Raider Crusader. Teleporter, Land Raider Crusader going to start taking damage from this Predator tank, which is just about to upgrade to a las cannon. Now it's also going to get force meleeed by the Dreadnought. It really needs support here. I think I had hoped to support it, but I've got some Vanguard veterans chasing after my Fire Prism, and I do have to respect that because, well, there is power melee damage. No Power Fist yet. So the Land Raider Crusader already goes down. So trading a teleporter relay beacon for a Land Raider Crusader, or the other way around, not quite an equal trade. And the VP's 382 to 164. Purifier's just going to YOLO it, running into, I feel like, way more than they can actually deal with. Now they're starting to run off. It seems like they're getting some kind of healing aura, but I don't even know what. And the Paladin just totally running in. Row Captain is in here as well. And now we have some support from me. I send in that Barrage, which actually kind of misses. Well, it knocks over the heroes, but not much else. And my Fire Prism really needs to start shooting. And look at these Paladins just chasing after the... They're just chasing after the Predator, and they're going to take it out. So, and I think that's part of what's good about having that Psy Cannon. I've heard that the stats on that Psy Cannon, on the Paladin Psy Cannon, aren't very good. But I think just what's good about it is that you're going to have these Paladins, they're going to be doing AV damage on their approach while they're walking forward when they can't actually swing their hammers. And then, of course, once they swing their hammers, that's good. But it basically just makes it, you still punish vehicles a bit when they try to kite the Paladins. Alright, now I've got my Fire Prism in here to support. Now, of course, I can either go for the Dreadnought, but actually it appears that I'm just knocking over Vanguard models. The Paladins must be going after the Vanguards as well, because a lot of those models died. Stern Guards force meleeing the Dark Reapers, which does mean they're going to have to get out of there, and we might even have... Yes! I think that was actually... The finishing shot came from my Fire Prism, so luckily we just took out 2 vehicles, so that's a nice little win for us, but we're still quite behind in DPs. 329 to 138. I've got another D-Cannon. Great for VP denial. Shoot a Singularity, but the Singularity ends up missing, and now we've got a Land Raider Redeemer from SuperHooper. Raffa is calling it out so that we have that knowledge. And since he calls that out, I'm actually going to move my Rangers in, have them infiltrate. Well, I think that's what I'm going to do. I feel like that's what I remember doing. Hate to spoil things, but I mean, it's not such a dramatic spoiler. Anyway. Yes, so here what I'm doing, I'm infiltrating the Rangers and moving them forward just so I can gather that intel for myself, just making sure that that his intel is right. I know there's a Land Raider Redeemer right here, and now I'm actually sighting a bit for my Fire Prism so that I can shoot at the Land Raider. Switch to the Focus Blast to do more damage. Gotta be careful, this big Space Marine blob is coming out here, and it looks like such a big blob, even though they don't actually have that many units. Now, unfortunately, the Vanguard veterans jumping in here, me not really microing, means pretty much all of my stuff right here is going to have to get out of here. Probably going to get forced off. D-Cannon in a little bit of trouble, but I actually try to keep the Dark Reapers and the Dire Avengers out on the field, split them. I've got the Warlock finally back on his feet again. I don't even remember when I brought him back or if he was revived, but suddenly those Vanguard veterans were in a huge amount of trouble. They did not chase after the Dark Reapers, and the Dark Reapers just going to absolutely murder them if they're unopposed. And then, of course, I had the Warlock in here. Now, level 2 with the Heart of Darkness, and we have a second Land Raider Crusader call in from DJ Raffa. XPhial sees it, and he's calling it out to his teammate. The blue team has a double cap again, so they've got the VPs ticking down in their favor when they've already got a significant VP lead. And what I might just do here is put the Warlock on the point. I've probably got Heart of Darkness ready so that I can activate, restore his energy and activate the energy shield again. Or not. I'm just going to retreat him out of there. Tried to get it. Fire Prism needs to back off. VPs are now getting kind of scarily... It's getting scary. We're getting to the sub 100 point mark, and something's going down right there. Is that going to be a Venerable Dreadnought? No, we've got some Space Marine Terminators from XPhial. And here, this might be the Venerable Dreadnought call-in, just right near our stuff, and we just kind of need to adapt to the positioning. The Fire Prism is going to be one of the main sources of damage to deal with that Venerable, especially since it can stay very, very far away from the Venerable. Venerable already taking some damage, hopefully taking, yeah, it's taking multi-melta hits from the Land Raider Crusader as well, so, I mean, that Land Raider Crusader actually does have some AP. Techmarine has actually switched to the Plasma Gun. We've got some more things going on. Terminators teleporting in, probably want to go after the Land Raider Crusader, and here's the other Land Raider, the Redeemer. Meanwhile, the Paladins are just straight up chasing after the Venerable Dreadnought, but I think it's being healed by the Blessing of the Omnissiah. However, the Blessing of the Omnissiah cannot save it from the heavy melee damage of the Paladins. Paladins now teleport back to the Crusader and get in What a nice play. Fire Prism now in quite a bit of trouble taking Vengeance round hits, so I got the Warlock to tie up the Stern Guard veterans, and now the Terminators were also trying to hit on it a bit with their Power Fist, so Fire Prism managed to get out of there with only 60 hit points, and it's actually at level 2 with 550 maximum. Meanwhile, we might actually have this Land Raider is now in a huge amount of trouble. Raffa going to lose his second Land Raider Crusader. I thought I saw a Melt-A-Bomb go off on it, and maybe it did, but we've just got the Assault Marines as well as the Vanguard Veterans. Yeah, Vanguard Veterans, they've got their Power Fist now, and with the help of the Assault Marines as well as the Land Raider Crusader, they should be able to take out this Land Raider Crusader. I mean, with the help of the Land Raider Redeemer. So, second Land Raider Crusader down. Meanwhile, we've now got the Avatar of Cain out for me. 272 VPs to 58. Meanwhile, SuperHooper has not lost his Land Raider. I'm going to set the D-Cannon up to start taking some shots at it. Takes out a pretty nice chunk of the health. And now, one of the reasons, of course, to have the Avatar here and go for the VP instead of the Land Raider is that he should be able to knock this Apothecary off the point. I don't know why I'm not doing that, but we've got a double cap, so maybe we've got some time. And I said that I don't have to go after the vehicle, but the Apothecary is on this point, and it'd be nice to get him off that point. Maybe I'm finally going to do a Wailing Doom right here to get him off. Here is the Wailing Doom. He actually just moves the Apothecary out of the way, and that totally ruins things for me. So instead, well, he's moving around. Actually not going to get the cap. Here we've got some marked target on the Paladins. These Paladins have done really well, but this could be the end of them. They teleport out, but they're still being hit by marked target, and actually that scares them off. Anyway, Rangers get jumped on a little bit by the Vanguard Veterans. The Avatar now in a little bit of trouble. I use a Wrath of Cain. Wow, look at the damage that my Dark Reapers are taking from those Vanguards on retreat. Dark Reapers go down, and we've actually got a second squad of Paladins from DJ Raffa. And it's actually only a single cap for us, so now 180 VPs to 58. And it looks like something happened here. Maybe another orbital bombardment. I must have totally missed it. Anyway, Terminator's going to go for the capture point. The only way to get them off is to use one of the Avatar's abilities. So, I don't know if either one of them is ready. Here is a Wrath of Cain. They're actually just going to try to walk away. And they actually do not get hit by it at all. Now I have no energy whatsoever to use any abilities, but I'm at least by walking forward, I did scare them off the point a little bit. That buys us some time. And the Fire Prism can do some nice damage to the Terminators, but it cannot knock them over. And now that the Vanguard Veterans are here, I actually have to prioritize targeting the Vanguard Veterans in order to protect the Fire Prism as well as, well, pretty much everything else I have. Vanguard Veterans are actually now in a pretty bad position, and that Merciless Witchblade is going to do pretty well against them because it's going to drain their energy, meaning they won't be able to use Merciless Strike. They won't be able to jump a second time. D-Cannon now in a bit of trouble. Here goes an Eldritch Storm, and a very poorly done one. I don't know if it managed to hit the Land Raider Redeemer at all. It appears to be moving around just fine. He like moved away from it just in time and managed to dodge it pretty much entirely. Meanwhile, Stern Guard Veterans chasing, I imagine, switching ammo, but they don't appear to be deciding on an ammo type, so I don't know if they've been hit by that bug where they get stuck, but either way, that's not good. They don't appear to be shooting. Anyway, Avatar, Avatar goes down. I think just being chased down by the Terminators. Meanwhile, this Land Raider Redeemer is still alive. He's kept the Land Raider alive, but it looks like he's lost a lot of other stuff. And here I have an Autarch called in on nothing, just to get that out on the field, and actually try to apply VP pressure, but I actually need to get the Avatar out of there. An attempted Cyclone Missile Barrage on the Fire Prism fails, but some Power Fist hits take that Fire Prism down to 340 health. You know, Raffa has been, I think Raffa's really kept us in the game by holding their natural VP with all of his Paladins. Here is a Singularity. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm only going to pull in some friendly Paladins, or maybe nothing. I pulled in some friendly Paladins. Luckily, they're Paladins, so they don't really care. Anyway, now taking some hits on the Land Raider Redeemer with both the D-Cannon as well as the Fire Prism. Look at these very brazen Purifiers just going for it, just behind enemy lines, and somehow doing pretty well. Meanwhile, we've got a Plasma Cannon Devastator, of all things, decapping the blue team's natural VP. These Paladins are being beastly. They just seem to win. Chasing after the regular Space Marine Terminators. That Terminator probably going to try to get inside of the Land Raider Redeemer where he will presumably be safe. Now I have the Autarch just capturing on the point. I think I had the Warlock starting the capture, and then I had the Autarch going for it. She has an energy shield of her own so that she can capture. Unfortunately, she's going to get caught in the orbital bombardment along with my D-Cannon, and it looks like I'm going to lose that Avatar. Avatar goes down. Meanwhile, I managed to keep my D-Cannon on the field, and if you notice, here is the third Land Raider Crusader, and the VPs are pretty much even. Now, this Refractor Field is considered the most energy-efficient energy shield for any hero. However, I believe it does not protect from knockback, so the Techmarine can still get knocked back. There's a grenade as well as a Fire Prism hit, and he just gets knocked back. Here we have a Singularity, probably going to pull in the Techmarine, and they just can't get on the point. They finally have their natural VP. It feels like they've never actually had that. Even Dire Avengers going for the cap, but I don't think they're going to last there for very long. Terminator's about to get into range and about to go for some force melee, and those Dire Avengers getting eaten alive, but I mean, what have the Dire Avengers even really been doing? Meanwhile, D-Cannon now in a bit of trouble because it got knocked over, and while being chased down by the Vanguard veterans again, and that D-Cannon goes down. I've lost so many squads in this game. Raffa has lost so many super units. But it's a 1-to-1 cap, and no one has this middle VP. He's shooting his own Techmarine with the Plasma Cannon Devastator. He needs to stop doing that so that he does not knock the Techmarine off the point. They finally got the cap, and he's switching it back to the Plasma Gun. You know, we've got some double missile attacks, so it looks like he switched his... He's got some double missile attacks. They used to be plasma attacks, and now they're going back to plasma attacks. My god, how much has he spent in upgrading attacks? Meanwhile, the Warlock is right here. Raffa even managed to get a decap on the blue team's natural VP. He's really been oppressive with that. And we actually still have control over the middle VP. Raffa about to YOLO his third Land Raider and send it in for a suicide mission. And SuperHooper actually calling the GG. And they can't seem to get anything on the point fast enough. Scout's going for a decap, but it's now finally too late for them. And that actually ends up being the win in our favor. A lot going on, so many things lost, and so much of Raffa holding this VP that I think really won the game for us. Alright, hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.